Governor Lamont's budget is pretty good when it comes to nonprofits. At least that's what we're told. They are flat funded, many of them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be cut. That's because in prior administrations, like the Malloy administration, there were deep cuts, and it's going to take a while before those nonprofits get back in shape, right? And joining us now is Gian Carl Casa from the Connecticut Nonprofit Alliance to tell us what this means. Now, a lot of times we hear flat funded, and that's great. It means that, you know, they're not going to get less money. But talk to us about what that really means in terms of dollars and cents.
Yeah, thank you. We do appreciate that the governor attempted to flat fund as many programs as he could. Since before the Great Recession in 2008, nonprofits have been struggling essentially with the money that they had at that time or less. In many programs, they've been cut as demand has gone up. The example that I think best illustrates this is that since 2013, we know that opioid deaths have gone up well over 100%.
And the need is very great, and we hear that all the time, that we need more services, we need more beds, and nonprofits are doing more of the work that the state used to do. Mm-hmm. So is that, you know, a priority that, you know, or put your money where your mouth is? If you're going to say we need these programs for this opioid crisis and our families, but those services are just not there.
Well, as the increase has gone up in opioid deaths, the funding for grant programs funded by the state have gone down by 29% over the same period of time. So that's illustrative of the kind of struggle, the kind of challenges that nonprofits have faced over the past few years in trying to get back to where they were, even where they were at the beginning of the Great Recession.
Now, this week at the state capitol, there were some 600 people, many with disabilities and those recovering from addiction, who are trying to live independently. And they made a point of saying, you know, these are essential services. We are essential, mm-hmm. you know, and we don't often see people. And do you think that by being vocal and coming to the Capitol and saying, you know, here we are, we just want to live as best as we can and independently, because without these services, what happens?
I thought it was a powerful statement. You know, normally you can turn out people when an ox is gored very deeply, but in a year when flat funding has been proposed, 600 people still came to the Capitol and talked about how important those programs are to them. They were able to make the case that they're getting quality services at a very good cost to the state, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference in the quality of life for the state and whether or not the state is attractive to businesses or residents.
Because who else? If you could not, these people could not live independently, and they would have to be in a nursing home, and that would be far more expensive.
Yes, it is more expensive to put people in institutions or to provide institutional care for folks, but we're talking about a wide variety of programs that nonprofits provide: substance abuse treatment, yep. homeless shelters, programs for people with developmental disabilities, energy programs, a wide variety of programs on which people depend. And these are people of Connecticut who want services and who really deserve the services that nonprofits provide.
We recently visited an independent, I forget the name of the name, it was in Norwich, and primarily they deal with a lot of deaf people. And it's really interesting, the services that they provide. And these people live on their own, but you know, there are gaps. I mean, to go to an employer and try to get a job if that person doesn't know sign language. So, you know, minimal at best, but this particular program needs about $200,000. That's not a lot of money, and that really can help people become more productive in society so they can get a job, right? I mean, that's the goal of all this, isn't it?
Yes, and you know, we're hoping that legislators, after so many years of tough budgets, are able to hold a line on the programs that people depend on and increase funding for those programs beyond what the governor's proposed, to where it's most appropriate.
What else is important for nonprofits? I mean, as you take on a larger role in providing services for people, that the state obviously knows that maybe you can do more efficiently and more and less expensively. Mm-hmm. I mean, what becomes the challenge, and how do you take on that role?
nonprofits face a number of challenges. What you're referring to is the state government taking programs that it operates at present and moving them to community nonprofits. That does save money, and it saves money that can then be taken and put back into the service delivery system. So it's an opportunity for the state to serve more people at the same cost that it's spending now. At the same time that nonprofits are struggling with increased demand, at the same time that their programs have been cut, we are also facing proposals from different quarters to tax nonprofits.
That's the user fee that came up at the Capitol this week. Tell us about that. So if a nonprofit lives in a town, they're going to pay a fee to use fire, police.
Yeah, it's a tax. No matter what you call it. You're taking money away and diverting money away from services like the ones I listed earlier, the ones that people depend on and need. And nonprofits provide services. They provide services so that government doesn't have to. They provide services that are quality and at an affordable cost. And to then say, well, okay, you provide services, but we want you to pay taxes on top of it, it really puts them in a very difficult financial position.
And I think ending that, we're in a terrible budget crisis. We're looking at tolls, recreational marijuana. Are you hopeful? Do you really think that, there will be more money in the budget for nonprofits?
We're hopeful. We know that people in both parties are committed to nonprofits and committed to the people that they serve. They recognize the impact that nonprofit services have on the quality of life in Connecticut and how important they are. So we're hoping that that translates into a budget that maintains funding where they can and that increases it where it's most needed.
Well, thank you and good luck and welcome back to Face the State.
Thanks.
One of the worst attacks we have seen on the Muslim community came last month in New Zealand. Here in Connecticut, the Muslim community is trying to bridge the gap and trying to help us all with hatred and bigotry. But how do we do that? That conversation coming up next.